Little bit of the beginning to what I was going to say when I was listening to Reverend Gay talk about all of those musicians who made it in spite of themselves. I thought that I have experienced every single one of those things except the squirting of the donut sauce. And so now I'm wondering maybe I should go to Dunkin' Donuts and see if I can do that, and maybe I'll be coming home with a few Grammys later. I did actually get in trouble once because I was so busy composing a piece of music I neglected my practicing. But it wasn't when I was 7 years old and playing for my teacher. It was when I was like 35 and they were paying me to play the accompaniment. And I learned my lesson, get the practicing done first. I hope you don't mind if I speak to you from down here. I have to tell you that standing behind pulpits makes me a little nervous, makes me feel like I have to be more important than I am. So we're just a few weeks away from all of the December holidays. And if my holidays are like yours, then you go to a lot of parties, you go to a lot of get-together, a lot of social functions. And we know that when you go to parties, you're often going to meet people that you do not know. And if what you do for a living has not been mentioned in the introduction, very often the first thing that people want to know is, what do you do for a living? And when I tell people that I'm a musician, I get a variety of interesting responses. Very often their eyes go wide, like, whoa, that is so amazing, that is so cool. And then they go like, what kind of music do you like to play? Whatever I have to play for the job is really the answer. And then they go, are you any good? And they ask this all the time, and that's like a trick question. If I say no, I'm lying. If I say yes, I'm boasting. Right? But even though the initial reactions vary, the second response is almost always the same. When people hear that I'm a professional musician and that I make my living as a musician, they often feel a deep need to confess to me just how unmusical they are. You're a musician? Oh, I'm the world's worst musician. Or you direct choirs, you don't want me in your choir, people would run away. And then there's always, I'm not musical at all because Miss McGillicuddy told me that back in 6th grade band. And I wonder how this happened. We see for something like music that is so pervasive in this world, there's such confusion about these words: music, talent, and their very dangerous love child, musical talent. And they're really all three separate little things. Talent is not for everybody. Not everybody has talent in any particular area. And even people who get talent, it's not always the same amount of talent. But you can have a little bit of music talent. You can have a great amount of music talent. You can have a music talent in the middle. But even if you have no music talent, you are all musical. You are all musical, whether you realize it or not. And the older we get, especially once we get past puberty and we start becoming self-conscious, then we are convinced that we're not musical. And because we remember what Miss McGillicuddy said one time, or we remember in music class when we were asked to sing and we got nervous, and it stayed with us. It stayed with us. But you are all musical. Now, people often ask me, what is it like to have musical talent? People are very interested in that. There are some people in this town that I'm friends with every time I see them, they want to know, how did you make that up? How did you do that? How did that happen? And they're mystified and entranced by the talent that I have. And I always used to struggle with explaining what the talent was, how it felt like. And then a while back, a movie, Billy Elliot, came out. Right? And if you've seen it, it's about a young boy who lives in the hinterlands of England, a working class boy, very working class boy. There's nothing working class like English working class. And somehow he falls into dance. And he ends up applying and auditioning for the Royal School of Dance in London. And he has not the best audition. But at the end of the audition, just as he's on his way out, the judges ask him a question. Do we have that clip? Let's see if we can watch that clip. Was working earlier. There it is. Well, I'll just narrate. And she's asking him, Billy, what does it feel like when you dance? And you can see he's pondering. And he tells them he's thinking, and he's struggling to put it into words. And finally he says, it feels like electricity. He says it feels like electricity going through his body. He says he feels like he's flying with electricity. And they thank him, and then he leaves. And he goes on to be a wonderfully successful dancer with the Royal Academy of Ballet. We can stop that. It's not, I told you what it said. And that's...
There it is.
Oh.
No, it's okay.
Your hearing must be better than mine. That's good. You can cut it off. You can just stop it. Okay. Anyway, that's what it feels like. Electricity. It feels like electricity. It feels like I'm flying. I feel like the most alive person on the planet. And you know what? Some of you may be sitting there thinking, I want some of that electricity. I want that feeling. I wish I could feel like that. That's why people always tell me, I wish I could do what you do. And guess what? You can have that electricity too, because you are all musical. Now, last week I played a postlude that I called the Orange Peel Waltz. And if you were here last week, you know why I called it the Orange Peel Waltz. And I would like to play just a very shortened version of it again for you. Is it done? No. Everybody says it's not done, right? Everybody knows it's not done. Now, I'm going to tell you why it's not done, because I ended up on a 5/7 chord, and the 5/7 chord has a leading tone, and the leading tone really wants to advance to the tonic tone, right? And you know, the reason that there's such a strong relationship between the 5 tone and the 1 tone is because the 5 tone is actually exactly half the wavelength of the 1 tone. The ancient Greeks figured that out. I have no idea how. They were very, very smart people. And near the end, I threw in a couple of diminished chords, which created some tension, because all the notes in a diminished chord are equal distance from each other, so we really don't know where it's going to go. And then I ended up on the 5/7 chord with the leading tone on top, and that's why you all said, it's not done yet. Now, I could go on and on about that, because music theory is like a bottomless pit. And you can get a PhD in music theory, and if you look at the worksheet of a PhD music theory student, it looks like an engineering whiteboard. It's that complex. Now, some of you may have understood everything I said. Some of you may have understood half of what I said. Maybe you understood one word I said, and many of you probably understood zero. Yet, when I asked you if the piece was done, all of you said no. The rules of music are powerful. So powerful that they work whether you know the rules or not. It's like gravity. You don't have to go to college to study planetary physics to understand gravity. Take one wrong step off of a ladder, and you know everything you need to understand about gravity. Music is powerful. And the reason you are all musical is that because music works whether you know the rules or not. And because it works whether you know the rules or not, it enables you to receive the electricity from the music producer. If that wasn't the case, if you needed to know the rules of music to understand music, if I played the Orange Peel Waltz and asked, is it done, half of you would have said yes. Half of you might have said, is something else going on? Half of you might have said no, and many of you would already have been checking your cell phones because you wouldn't have really cared what I was playing. It just would have sounded like, background noise to you. So musicians with the talent create the electricity, and you folks, whatever your level of music knowledge is, are the natural receptors. And you don't have to have a degree in music like I do to be the giver of the electricity. You don't have to be Madonna singing for sold-out people in arenas. You could be our wonderful choir members. And when they sing, they send out the electricity. And because you are all naturally musical, you receive the electricity. We are all musical from the time we are born till the very day we die. We're going to try to show another video now, keeping my fingers crossed. And we've got a video of a little baby trying to dance to music. Let's see if we can get it going. I see it up there. It says baby. I guess. Testing. Well, I'm going to take this off. And I'm just going to let it. I'm going to go to the other microphone. Let's not worry about the dancing bit. After teaching in a classroom for 29 years, I don't really need a microphone. So I hope you can all hear me. And so, in the Dancing Baby video, there's a baby, it's so young, it's only like 7 months old. And it hears music, and it can't even stand up, and it's trying to dance. And it is dancing, and it's bobbing along to the music. And I wanted to show that to you because we are all musical from the time we are born till the time we die. This baby was, like I said, just about 7 months, just sort of down here, like it was moving to that music. As soon as the music comes on, it's instinctively moving because we are all musical from the time we are born till the time we die. The electricity is all over in the world. Last month, think of a family that gets together for Christmas. And people want to sing, the family wants to sing some Christmas carols. But no one in the family has a really good voice except Uncle Joe. Now, Uncle Joe's not a musician, doesn't think of himself as a musician, he doesn't play an instrument, he's never really sung in a choir, but he's got a little bit of that talent. He's got a little bit of that music talent. And when Uncle Joe leads the Christmas singing with the family, he provides the electricity. And the rest of the family members receive that electricity, and it empowers them in their own natural musicality. And it empowers them in their own natural musicality. At one point, I gave a talk like this a few years ago to a large group of people at a luncheon, and I asked them, I'm not going to do this today so you can rest easy. I asked people to raise their hand if they felt they couldn't sing. And like 3/4 of the people immediately raised their hand. And I cajoled a woman to come up and do some singing when the ones who raised their hand. So there was a certain level of trust there. And I told her that I was going to whisper a song in her ear that I wanted her to sing, and I would ask her to sing it without the words, just on like ba 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 ba. And she goes up to the microphone, and she was right. She really could not sing. Yet, wonders of wonders, miracles of miracles, when she was done with this awful singing, and I asked on humming, and I asked the 200 people at lunch, what did she sing? Everybody immediately said, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Everybody. We are all musical from the day we were born till the time we die. And I have to tell you that everything I'm saying about music today applies to all the other arts. Chris, are we going to be able to get that painting up? Not yet. Do you think we're going to be able to do it? Yeah. Okay. So, my talent runs deep and strong in music, but it does not run deep and strong in all of the arts area. That's not the way talent works. And so this morning when I came in, I took a piece of paper and I drew something for you. And I guarantee you that this represents pretty much the ability, my abilities to draw. And I'm going to show it to you. And as soon as I show it to you, I would like you to tell me what it is I have drawn. What is it?
A face.
It's a face. It's a face. And, you know, I'm embarrassing myself holding this up because I'm not beyond embarrassing myself. I think I'm kind of topped out at about the kindergarten level here. Yet everybody said it was a face. Nobody said a house. Nobody said a dog. Just like everybody at that drawing, she said Mary had a little lamb. And it's because I can draw this face, no matter how rudimentary it is, and because I can recognize it as a face, means that I can appreciate this picture. There it is. The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. Possibly one of the most famous paintings in the world. It's certainly one of my most favorite paintings, and I think it's probably a favorite painting of many people in the world, and possibly even in this room. A few years ago, this painting traveled on a tour of the country, and it spent a few months at the High Museum of Art. And I wanted to see the painting so much that my wife and I took a trip into Atlanta, and we went to the High Museum of Art, and we saw the painting. It's smaller than you think. It's only about this big. And I'm standing in front of this painting with about 30 other people gazing at it. And I could feel the eyes of this young woman staring right at me across 350 years. And I was transfixed. And everybody else standing around the painting was transfixed as well. And we were all transfixed because all of us can do this. How about my eyes versus her eyes?
It's a happy face.
It is. You can't appreciate those eyes unless you can do these eyes and know what they are. And everybody knows what they are, and everybody can do this. Many people can do much better than this, but this is what I can do. And I study music and you'll get better at math. Study music and it increases your powers of concentration. Get into band because it's going to look good on your college application. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's no causality between doing music and math, because if it was, my math scores in school would have been much, much, much better. Much, much, much better. The purpose of music is not to make us better at something else. The real purpose of music in our lives is to make us human. To be human is to make music. To be human is to absorb music. We have another picture we're going to hopefully show. Last one. This is a picture of a flute made out of a hollow vulture bone. It was found in a cave in southern Germany, and it is believed to be the oldest instrument found in the world. It was found in a cave with belongings from the early humans who had first migrated up to Europe about 40,000 years ago, and that's where this bone flute was. 35,000 years ago, when we were just becoming Homo sapiens, we were making a bird flute out of a vulture bone. Let's see if this is working now. Testing, testing. Okay, we'll see what happens. Before reading, before writing, before any kind of math beyond rudimentary counting, there was music. To make music is to be human, and to be human is to make music. Music is our human superpower. We are all endowed with a superpower in music. And it's our superpower because music is an amplifier. It amplifies emotions, it amplifies ideas, it helps expand our horizons, and it helps us communicate our feelings and our desires far out into the world more effectively than spoken words often can. And because music is our communication superpower, that's why we so often find music at the heart of spirituality. Because spirituality is a process of reaching out beyond yourself. I'm not going to stand here and try to make a big definition of spirituality, because that is the road to perdition and getting into trouble. But I hope we can all agree that being spiritual or exploring spirituality is reaching out beyond yourself to something greater. How do I fit into the world? What is my place in the universe? And music is so much a part of that, because music is the great communication device. It expands outward. Music respects no boundaries. Music goes where it will. Music loves to make music with other people. Even if the musicians who are making that music don't always get along, the music gets along. Music is transgressive. Music gets people angry. Every day in this world, there are people who are upset about something in music. They might be upset about the lyrics. They might be upset about the words, right? What do I hear mostly from people over a certain age? I like all kinds of music except that rap stuff. Except they always want to say rap, C-R-A-P, because it rhymes. Fortunately, I have a son who sends me rap music I can listen to, so I'm in good shape on that. Next week, the country and the world will be observing the birthday of Martin Luther King. And we remember these words: "We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday." That song was sung at so many civil rights rallies and marches in the 60s. It will be sung next week at the Martin Luther King memorial service. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. It's nice words, but it's not the saying of the words that gives it the power, right? It's the melding of the words with the music that gave it that incredible transformative push out into the world, because music is our superpower. It's our spirituality. It seeps into every single crack and crevice in the world. It doesn't care where it goes. People want to worry sometimes about misappropriation of music. And we could talk about that, but music doesn't care. We may care, but the music does not care. Music naturally bleeds into each other, right? And if you're a musician, you cannot help but be affected by other music. I want to go back to that Orange Peel waltz again and give it one more go. Was it done? And so am I. Blessed be.
And our closing hymn, now that we're inspired to sing, is number 30, Over My Head. Please rise in body or spirit.
Are you ready to receive the electricity?